guys? Ahmed here, back with another video. And yeah, y'all see the title. We gonna get into some today. Here we go. So today's video is about why I feel like Eminem is overrated. And I'm gonna say a few things first that I want to be very clear about, so people don't take me out of context. Number one, I'm not saying that Eminem should not be considered one of the greatest rappers of all time. You can make that argument, okay? Number two, I'm going to be pretty harsh during this video, but there are also positive aspects of Eminem's legacy, album output, and skill that should be applauded at all times. And Eminem definitely deserves his flowers for the things that he has accomplished. Number three, and this may sound like the corny YouTube, I didn't want to, but I wasn't really going to make this video. I feel like there's already a lot of hate out there for Eminem, and I didn't really want to add to that, you know what I mean? But I think the two things that inspired me to make this video was, one, I think this weird, like, obsession Eminem fans have where, especially on the internet, where it's not just good enough to say that Eminem is one of the best rappers of all time. That's not good enough for a lot of Eminem fans. It's more about, why isn't he top one? Why isn't he top three? Why don't you have him above Jay-Z? And there's like, there seems to be this like undisputed GOAT that Eminem is in their mind. And that to me is toxic. This idea that there is no need for a debate, or that people who don't have Eminem in their top 5 or top 10 don't understand hip hop. And I also think the other thing that has really inspired me to make this video is the gaslighting that Eminem fans do. Mainly I'm referring to this tired excuse that the only reason why people don't consider Eminem the GOAT is because they're white, and certain people have a narrow-minded view of hip-hop. And while that may be a certain group of people, I think there are a lot of other reasons that people want to neglect on why Eminem, you could make the argument that Eminem is outside of the top 5 of hip-hop that have nothing to do directly with his race. I just think that that's a whole lot of gaslighting done by people who don't really have the ability to comprehend certain points and arguments, or are biased. So I'm going to be going over 3 different points in this video, which are the 3, in my opinion, most important criteria for GOAT. That being impact, album output, and we'll say discography, and skill, right? And I'm going to sort of break down why I feel like Eminem is more vulnerable in these positions than a lot of people make out to believe. And besides a small point, just for all of the weirdos who think that people only hate him because he's white, I will pretty much not really mention his race at all. I may mention it once here or there, but I'm going to try not to mention it. We don't want to rake it about race, y'all, of course. Anyway, so to start off, let's talk about his albums. We cannot deny that Eminem probably has the greatest 3-album run of all time with the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, and the Eminem Show. 3 albums packed with quality and impact, with dark themes, solid production throughout by a famous producer, Dr. Dre, and really put him on the map as one of the first white artists to really challenge for the throne of King of Hip Hop. With that being said, after that, stuff gets really shaky, right? Stuff gets really, really shaky. And people can say, oh, you just don't like his newer stuff. No. Even the album directly after Eminem Show, Encore, was a whole lot of mid, if we're being honest, especially the way it aged. Of course, you have Kamikaze and Revival, which while I can understand why some people like those records, one of them just comes off as overly preachy and like a very unfocused and unrefined Eminem trying to tackle more grand and intense topics that he just doesn't have the understanding to do in Revival. And then Eminem coming back at the haters for not liking his music and dissing them for not liking his music, even though that's up for opinion, and not even really making points about why his music actually does deserve respect. Really just hurling insults at different people for the sake of hurling insults. It, to me, came off as just soft and as if he was very clearly offended by what people had to say. And I think as a narrative for an album, that's pretty whack, to be honest. And the underwhelming music to be murdered by, with this staccato flow that really gets boring and annoying, and back to that sort of Marshall Mathers LP2 days where we're no longer really spitting out much of substance, and we're just kind of saying bars because they're technical, sort of thing. Even at this point, if we look at his discography, you really only got like a 50 to 60% win rate when it comes to his quality records, in the eyes of a lot of people, when it comes to the general reception of his albums. And so while, yes, he does have an amazing 3-album run, he's also got some of the worst records in hip-hop history, and his catalog is extraordinarily inconsistent. And from a percentage perspective, he's not really a GOAT contender. And you could say, oh, when you release music for that long, of course you're not going to keep up with the times. Even that's not true. If you look at people like Pusha T, if you look at people like Jay-Z, they have been releasing music for just as long, if not longer than Eminem, and have maintained a high degree of quality. Particularly Pusha T, from the Clips era to all the way up until It's Almost Dry, been dropping straight fire albums. I'm not saying that Pusha T is better than Eminem. I'm just saying that other artists are proving that it's very possible to be consistent over a long span of a career. Eminem just never did that. Now we're going to talk about his impact. And this, to me, is the most annoying point to me to have to bring up, because even Eminem disagrees with his fans on this one to me. The main point that people like to bring up is like, oh man, yeah, he's impacted because he's global, man. His reach has gone far and wide. Everybody's listening to Eminem. But when even Eminem tells you that the reason that exact factor that you're referring to, the only reason why it exists is because he's white, you gotta pause at least for a second and say, well, wait a minute. If this was possibly an inevitability given his skin tone, how much of his like mainstream global success can we really attribute to his musical quality or his decision making alone? So that's kind of, and again, these are not even my words. On top of that, Eminem, you can make the argument, has the biggest impact in hip hop history. But bigger doesn't mean best. Bigger doesn't mean better. Big just means big. And let's be honest, some of Eminem's impact is not that great. Of course, he's impacted people like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole in terms of the creator to create genuinely amazing music. But we're not going to act like this dude didn't make a whole subgenre of trash white rappers who don't have Eminem's pen game, spit super fast bars that nobody can understand, no variation, terrible beats, and have the nerve to then turn around and fight against the progression of hip hop. in terms of hating on people like Lil Uzi Vert, Future, and Young Thug. Even if you enjoy this subgenre of hip hop, you can't deny the toxicity of it, as they literally called for the regression of hip hop. They're mad at people who are pushing the sound. Like, think about how bad that is for any genre of music. Most of these people weren't even alive to appreciate the style of hip hop that they're trying to save in the first place. And it has always just come out as extremely cringy. And so that's something that people always seem to ignore when it comes to Eminem's impact. And you can say, oh, well, it's not his fault that a bunch of mid rappers came in his wake. Two things. One, with that, of course, yes, but you can say that about positive impact too. No rapper decides what their impact is going to be. The future rappers decide what their impact is going to be. That's how that goes in general. But also, given his own perspective on new age rap and how he vehemently in his music coins the term mumble rapper and shames certain artists for mumbling in their tracks, I would say that he did play a large role in empowering probably the worst subgenre in music history. And look, I'm not saying that Eminem has not had an overall positive impact on rap music, because I think honestly he has. I think it's great. Like I said, the focus he put on syllables for certain lyricists, and the way that he has inspired certain flow techniques is awesome. Especially the vulnerability that he pushed in hip hop with all of his dark and difficult fantasies, I think is great. But we can't act like everything that Eminem has ever done for hip hop is positive. And that's something that people need to appreciate. The final thing I'm going to get into is skill. Now, listen, there is no denying that Eminem is probably the most technical rapper of all time. His flows, his bars, his double entendres, his rhyme schemes. Eminem is one of, if not the most technical rappers of all time. But the main thing I want people to understand is that rap is not a math problem. Rap is music. And there are a lot of different ways to be compelling in music, right? This is not a math problem where the most lyrical person is the best person. I think that artists like J. Cole, artists like Kendrick Lamar, artists like Jay-Z or Lupe Fiasco, while they may not be, in my opinion, as technical as an Eminem, they bring a level of substance. They bring a level of passion and emotion to the thing that they have to say that can often make them and their content far more moving than Eminem has to say, especially on records like the Marshall Mathers LP2 or Music to Be Murdered By. And so with this whole skill conversation, I think that you can make the argument that Eminem is the most technical rapper, and I'll never take that away from him. With that being said, I think it's important to recognize that people can find different ways to match Eminem in writing, because at the end of the day, this is music. Music is about moving people, and it don't matter how technical of a rapper you are. If you don't say that's moving, your writing has flaws. That's just facts. I think that's all I'm going to say for this video. Like I said in the beginning, you can of course make the argument for Eminem being top 1. You can make the argument that Eminem should be in the top 5. I'm just sick of people not engaging in actual debates and crying out that you're hating on him because you're white. And so I really wanted a video that would help people understand some of the dissension for Eminem that has nothing really to do with his race. With that being said, let me know what y'all think of this video in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace, y'all.